They say the oldest trees hold the deepest secrets, but I've come to believe that the truest secrets, the ones that shape our very souls, are held not in wood, but in the stories we tell. My journey to this truth began at my lowest point. My ambitions, once a blazing sun, had collapsed into a cold, dark void. I had strived for greatness with a selfish heart and had found only failure and isolation. Lost and adrift, I sought out the one man who was said to possess a map for any lost soul. An old storyteller named Silas, who lived deep in the valley of whispering reeds. His cottage was nestled amongst ancient cedars, and the air itself seemed to hum with the weight of unspoken tales. I found him in his workshop, a place that smelled of sawdust and time, surrounded by intricate wooden carvings that seemed to breathe with life. I asked him for his wisdom, for a single, powerful story that could guide me back to the light. He simply smiled, his eyes crinkling like old parchment, and gestured to the figures on his shelves. "There is no single map," he said, his voice a low, gentle rumble. "But there is a journey, and it begins here." He picked up the carving of two young men standing by a stream. One clutched a golden chalice, his face a mask of triumph, while the other knelt by the water, his hands open in a gesture of offering. "This," Silas began, "is the tale of the glimmering stream. It tells of two brothers, Finn and Marcus. They were traveling through a barren land when they stumbled upon a hidden grove where a stream sparkled as if it were filled with liquid light. As they drank, a spirit of the water appeared, its form shimmering like a dragonfly's wing. It offered them a choice. To Marcus, the elder and more arrogant brother, it offered a single, magnificent cup of pure gold, a treasure to make him a king. To Finn, the kinder and more thoughtful brother, it offered something different. The stream itself would be diverted to flow through their thirsty village, bringing life to their people and their crops. Silas paused, letting the image settle in my mind. Marcus scoffed at the offer made to his brother. "Why settle for muddy fields when you can have a king's ransom?" he sneered, snatching the golden cup. "A fool barters gold for water." Finn, however, thought of the elders in his village, of the children with parched lips. He bowed to the spirit and chose the water. The spirit nodded slowly and warned Marcus, "The gold you hold is the color of a thirsty sun. Its value is an illusion." But Marcus, blinded by his greed, merely laughed and strode away, already dreaming of the power his new wealth would bring. Yet, the moment he stepped out of the sacred grove, the magnificent cup in his hands crumbled into a pile of worthless, glittering dust. When he turned back in a rage, the grove had vanished. Finn, on the other hand, returned to his village to find a new, vibrant river flowing through it, bringing with it an abundance he had never imagined. And every morning, on the riverbank, he would find a single small nugget of pure gold left by the grateful stream, a quiet, enduring reward for his kindness, while his brother was left with nothing but the bitter taste of his own avarice. My gaze drifted from the carving of the two brothers to another, a far more tragic scene. It depicted a grand hall, a king on his throne, and a woman on her knees before a magnificent tapestry that was unraveling from a single point, its beautiful patterns dissolving into a mess of threads. "Arrogance often walks hand in hand with another failing," Silas continued, his voice softer now. "The refusal to listen. This is the story of Alara, the finest weaver in the kingdom. She was commissioned to create a grand tapestry depicting the kingdom's history. For months she toiled, her skill unmatched. As she neared completion, her young apprentice noticed a single, tiny, frayed thread near the bottom corner. "Mistress," the apprentice whispered, "this thread is weak. It may not hold." Alara, proud and impatient to receive her accolades, dismissed the warning with a wave of her hand. "It is one thread in 10,000, she declared. "Such a small matter is beneath my concern. Do not waste my time with trifles." She finished the work, tying off the final knot and ignoring the tiny flaw. Silas traced the unraveling threads on the carving with his finger. On the day of the unveiling, the tapestry was hung in the Great Hall. It was breathtaking. The court gasped in awe, but under the immense weight of the whole, that one small, ignored thread gave way. It snapped with a sound no louder than a sigh, but it was enough. A tiny hole appeared, and then, pulled by gravity and tension, the threads around it began to part. A line of ruin raced up the tapestry, unraveling years of work in a matter of moments. The kingdom's history dissolved before the king's very eyes. Alara's masterpiece, her legacy, was destroyed, not by a great disaster, but by a small warning she had been too arrogant to heed. I felt a chill run down my spine, recognizing my own past mistakes in the weaver's pride. Silas seemed to sense my discomfort and guided me to a final, larger carving that dominated the center of the workshop. It was a dynamic scene: a mountain pass, a deep chasm, a sheer cliff, and a locked gate. Before these obstacles stood three figures, not in conflict, but working in perfect harmony. "These stories of individual failure are important," Silas said, "but they are incomplete without the story of collective success. This is the tale of the three guardians of the mountain pass. A terrible landslide threatened their village, and the only path to safety was blocked by three seemingly insurmountable challenges. The villagers despaired, but three among them stepped forward. Rowan, an old woodcutter whose strength was legendary, but whose legs were too weary to climb. Lyra, a young and nimble hunter who could scale any cliff, but had no way to cross the chasm. And Kale, a clever locksmith, small and frail, who could open any lock but could neither move great weights nor climb. At first, Silas explained, they saw only their own part of the problem. They looked at the pass from a single perspective. Rowan saw the chasm and thought only of a bridge he couldn't get across to build. Lyra saw the cliff and lamented that even if she climbed it, the others couldn't follow. Kale saw the gate at the far end and knew his skills were useless until he could reach it. They argued, each believing their strength was the most vital and their limitation the most crippling. But as the rumbling of the distant landslide grew louder, they realized the truth. They were not three individuals facing three problems. They were one community facing one path. They understood they had to combine their strengths. Rowan, with his mighty axe, felled a giant pine to create a bridge across the chasm. Once across, Lyra used her agility to scale the sheer cliff face, trailing a rope behind her for the others to follow. Finally, safe on the upper ledge, they reached the gate, where Kale's nimble fingers and sharp mind worked to pick the intricate lock. The gate swung open, and together, they led their entire village to safety. They succeeded because they learned to see the world not just through their own eyes, but through the eyes of each other. Silas fell silent, allowing the weight of the three tales to settle upon me. The workshop was no longer just a room full of carvings. It was a library of life itself. The greed of Marcus, the pride of Alara, the eventual wisdom of the three guardians, they were not just fables. They were facets of the human experience, warnings and encouragements carved into wood. I finally understood. There was no single map. Life was not a destination to be reached, but a landscape to be navigated. Kindness was not a weakness, but a quiet, enduring strength. A small detail was never insignificant. And our greatest power lay not in our solitary abilities, but in our connection to one another. I looked at Silas, my heart full of a gratitude so profound it left me speechless. He had not given me an answer, but something far more valuable: a compass. He had shown me that every story, every person, every challenge has many sides. To judge by a single perspective is to blind yourself to the whole truth. I left the Valley of Whispering Reeds that day a different man. The path ahead was still uncertain, but I no longer felt lost. I knew that the life I was meant to build would not be a towering monument to myself, but a tapestry woven with threads of compassion, humility, and solidarity. A story of my own, worthy of being told. Thanks for joining me on this journey today. If these stories resonated with you, I hope you'll carry their lessons forward. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more tales that shape the soul. See you next time.